Dan, what a day. Your hometown, your home city. You couldn't get it any better, could you?
No.
And the mood and the feeling right now.
Yeah, no, it's good. But it's a lot busier. I was here the other day and it was freezing and there was no one here, so spent a lot of time here when I was a kid, and I still spend a lot of time here now. I think a lot of like summer holidays, like my mum would just sort of pack a picnic and we'd come down and spend the day down here, and I've spent a lot of time here with my friends as well, so it's somewhere I try to come to whenever I can.
It does feel like a full circle moment though, when you look back and what everything you've had to go through and had to deal with to get where you are right now.
7, 8 years ago, if you said I would have been doing what I'm doing now, I definitely wouldn't have believed you, but don't get us wrong, I'm happy that I'm here. Yeah, it's been very up and down, I would say. It's not been a straight line to get here.
What was the hardest part? Because life when you were just starting out was good,
Yeah.
the vibe was good, the energy was good, you're having a good laugh with your mates,
Yeah.
and then it got a little bit serious.
Yeah, I think so. I think probably, obviously when I was really young, I spent a little bit of time at sort of Newcastle, the development centre, that sort of thing. I got released from there, which I think hit us quite hard with confidence when I was a kid, and I wasn't great when I was a kid, to be honest, with football.
You weren't great?
No, I definitely wasn't. So I can understand why I wasn't in an academy, to be honest, especially when I see the level of academy players these days. But it sort of happened so quickly. Obviously, when I got to Darlington, it just sort of escalated within sort of 2-3 years. I was at Fulham, so it was it was a strange scenario.
What was Darlington life like?
Yeah, it was good. It was really good. I think it was more. My youth team manager there, Craig Little, I saw him the other day and I was so happy to see him, just because I feel like he took us from a lad who just liked playing football, and like he taught us like discipline and like how to be a footballer, if you know what I mean. And I think because they were struggling so much at the time, I got given opportunities that a lot of other players wouldn't have. Like I made a few appearances my first season where I went from sort of like working at Asda, like not really playing football, and then 3 months later I was playing in League Two and I couldn't like quite get my head around it, so I enjoyed it. And then obviously I went on a decent run that second season when we were in the conference and ended up getting that move to Fulham, so it was it was pretty surreal.
When you say you couldn't quite get your head round it, has confidence always been a thing for you?
I think so, yeah. I think I've always been, I think sort of early on, became quite resilient, just because I felt as if I was wrote off a lot of the time. I didn't like play county football or anything. Like I was never like the best player on my school team, but I always felt as if I had a bit of a chip on my shoulder and I wanted to prove people wrong. So I feel that drove us, and I feel confidence has always been a big thing for us when I'm playing regularly, and I have that confidence about us. I sort of don't really think about it. I think I've had like some bad times when you played with no confidence and you're struggling. You know what I mean?
What is playing with no confidence like? What's that feeling
Yeah,
like?
I think you're just second guessing yourself all the time. Like overthinking it. I think I used to overthink a lot, even at a stage at Fulham. Like I was overthinking like what I was eating and what I was doing, and like not really sort of switching off from football, and it just becomes sort of like the be all end all. And I've spoken about it before. I think when I had kids, it just like me perspective totally changed, because it's like you realise that you're not that important. It's more like you're here to support them and do that, and they couldn't really care less if I played football or not. It's more they just want me around, and I feel that sort of makes it easier, and like that sort of takes that like weight off.
Because I remember when it was only at the North East Football Writers when you picked up your award, Personality of the Year in the North East, and you were saying about how you were selfish with your time.
Yeah.
What were you selfish about?
I don't think it was selfish as in I wouldn't give up my time to do it, but I just didn't appreciate that I could be doing those things. I felt as if definitely early in my career, I was playing through like from a place of fear, where I didn't want to let people down. I didn't want people to be able to say, oh yeah, I told you, like he wasn't good enough to do that, and it was really, that's what drove us, fear. Whereas I feel now, like I feel what I've managed to do in my career at this point, like I'm happy with, and I felt I've worked to get myself in that position now, and I can sort of get beat at a weekend and sit for it on a night and then completely leave it and move on, because I know that's what sort of football did. And as I said, like off the pitch now, I know that I'm in a position where I can sort of help the community. So doing work with the foundation, when I got made ambassador there, it was like really sort of proud moment, and just sort of trying to set a better example to my kids and stuff as well, really.
When you talk about that fear and overthinking and not having that confidence and those setbacks, Fulham, that was pretty tough to take. The conversations that you had with Martin Jol at that time, where was your confidence in that moment?
Yeah, I think, don't get us wrong, like, I think I must have had some amount of confidence to go and knock on his door at sort of 20-year-old and say,
I don't want to be
I don't
here.
want to play for the 23s. Like all the lads my age had moved up to train with the first team, and I was with lads younger age. I didn't really feel as if I was improving at all. And I'd been used to a couple of years before playing first team football at Darlington, where you were playing for mortgages and lads were playing for bills. And you sort of had that adrenaline. I didn't really feel as if I got that when I was at the 23s at Fulham. So I felt it was, in hindsight, it was great. Like I should have done it because I ended up getting a loan move. But like, I'm very surprised that I did do that, if I'm honest.
But then also the reaction from the manager at the time, Martin Jol, was like, well, nobody wants you.
Yeah, which is fair. I think
That's
like,
brutal in itself.
Yeah, it is brutal, but I feel that is football. I think it's like you had a 21-year-old rocked up in his room and said I should be training with the first team, and he's probably thought, well, yeah, we're trying to progress here, but we don't feel there's progression there. So it sort of left to me. I said, if I can get a loan move, am I allowed to go? And he said, yeah. So I was sort of straight on to my agent, and luckily Yeovil took us. It didn't start well. Like the first 6 games we got beat, so probably wasn't the start I was hoping for, but we had like a really tight-knit team. We didn't have a lot of players, and we went on a really good run, and obviously that end of that season got promoted, which for Yeovil was huge. Like, it was never meant to happen. We just had a really good run and sort of got through it.
What was those like when you say you got promoted and the good run and everything else? Those celebrations, that group, the impact it had on you as a person, how good was that?
Yeah, I just grew up a lot. I think, especially at Yeovil, it was.
There's not a lot.
No,
to do.
There wasn't loads. So it was like such an intense thing where I ended up being like away from friends. Not that my friends were a bad influence, but you were just sort of like in that environment where it was just sort of football recovery train. And it was as I said, it was a really tight-knit group. I played with a settled back four in there. I had sort of Jamie McAllister, which was an amazing captain. We never seemed to win when he didn't play. Byron Webster, who I saw a few weeks ago at Bromley, so that was great to have him, and Luke Aylan. So it was, we had a good team, and I think we had that momentum, and it just sort of picked on from there.
And then you go back to Fulham, and you have another conversation, which was just as brutal as the previous conversation, maybe, that you had before. Was that when you wanted to, when your contract was up and that was it?
So I'd come back, obviously, I went on loan to Birmingham, came back, played for a bit, and I got to the season where I'd been speaking to Fulham about trying to agree a new deal, and we had something on the table, but by the time I'd went at the end of the season, they just sort of said, oh, listen, like, we're releasing you. We're sort of having a big clear out and going again. And at that time, like, the confidence was shot. I was in and out the team. We were always bringing in centre halves, and I'd went from sort of at one stage playing in the Premier League to two and a half years later, not even getting a game in the Championship, and then getting released. So and it was tough, and I think I was quite naive. I thought that I was going to leave Fulham, and there was going to be like a long list of clubs waiting to sign us up and crack on, and the reality was there wasn't. There was only Wigan who took that chance on us. And again, even when I got there, I wasn't great, to be honest. It really wasn't great.
But that's the impact, isn't it? That's the impact, that having all those setbacks and that confidence being taken away from you goes back to the overthinking and maybe you not thinking great about yourself, and you're actually not worthy to play football.
No, and like I've spoke before about, like, I had sort of mental health struggles while I was at Fulham.
We've had these conversations.
Yeah, we've had these conversations, and like now when I look back on it, like, I can't really like believe the mindset I was in, and you struggle to understand why that's happening. And I think it was I've said it before, like, I feel really bad for Gary Caldwell. Every time I see him, I'd like apologise to him because I pretty much got him sacked. So,
and what's he like? I mean,
he's
Gary, he's fine, isn't he?
He's great, and he says to us, I always tell people, even when you weren't playing well, like, what a sort of great player you were, and there was best was yet to come, and he just wasn't given that time. So I do always apologise to him, but I think it was just about going in. I was playing regularly. I felt like the manager believed in my ability, which I think was a big thing. I wasn't thinking every time I made a mistake that I wasn't going to not play the next week. So yeah, and I think it's, again, the more games I played, it built confidence. I stopped thinking about it. I just went out, and I felt I've always played better when I've just sort of relied on, like, not put too much thought into it. Just sort of relied on my instincts and sort of my football and experience really, and that's what sort of I rely on more now, I'd say.
Has coaching changed, do you feel,
Yeah.
in that time? Because there's so many players who want to be professional footballers.
Yeah, and I think obviously the percentage that actually make it is
Tiny.
something ridiculous. So yeah, it has changed. I think the managers when I was first coming through, it was a lot more emotional. Like, I think they would react a lot more to games without really analysing what had been happening. But I've played under a lot of managers, unfortunately. And always like taking good bits from all of them, but I feel now like this new wave of managers coming in, like Graham Potter and the gaffer, it's a lot more
Understanding,
I would say, yeah, because I think obviously they've played more recently as well, so I think it's more the mental side of football's changed a lot. So yeah, and for the better, hopefully.
So in a way, despite apologising to Gary Caldwell so many times, Wigan was your big turning point.
Yeah, it was, definitely from a confidence point of view. I mean, we got relegated at the end of that season and Gary had left, but I ended up getting Player of the Year, which was like massive for my confidence. I was playing again regularly, and that second year we sort of went up with Wigan from League One, and my wife had her sort of first kid, my daughter, and I think that changed everything. It sort of
Milestones.
yeah. Then it was like it sort of took that pressure off. It wasn't like football wasn't the be all and end all. It was something that I was very focused on. But I feel you realise when you've got kids. I say to all the lads, like, your perspective changes. You realise that you're here to support them and keep them going, and they don't, as I said, don't really care what you do as long as you're sort of present around them.
But you still had those dreams and those ambitions of being in the Premier League, and you do it again. I do remember the whole move to Brighton because they loaned you straight back.
Yeah, pre-season I broke my foot, and then my agent rang us next day saying, "Oh, Brighton want to sign you." I was like, "I've just broke my foot." I'm like, so we ended up.
It's not great.
No, not ideal. So they ended up saying that they would sign us. I could stay on loan at Wigan because I said at least if I'm at Wigan I can do my rehab, get games going. So by the time I go in January, I'm ready to go. And I think it was a good deal for Brighton because compared to the Premier League players, I wasn't on a lot of money. It helped their quota, I think, which I didn't realise at the time. But I think like it was a homegrown player because one of their players had left. And it was sort of good for me that first 6 months I was at Brighton. I knew I wasn't going to play very much because I knew they had Lewis Dunk and Shane Duffy, who were a solid partnership, and Houghton loved them. So it was a lot for me. It was about training and sort of getting up to that speed and spending time with the family, which Brighton was an amazing place to live. Like such a nice lifestyle and good for us, and I've got sort of really happy memories of that first 6 months. So.
Similar to this really, but just down south.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and it was like you're pretty much in France, so you got proper summers and we'd train, we'd come out, we'd have a coffee around the park, and it was just nice. It was really nice. I've always said, like, I think if I didn't live up here, I'd always want to go and live back down there.
I know you've spoken about Newcastle United and the conversation you had with your dad on the beach and the takeover, and you always wanted to come home and to come back, but there was always that confidence again that it was never going to happen.
Yeah,
so and then it did happen.
Yeah, it was just very surreal. I think once the new owners had came in, I thought like they're going to be going for like world-class players and stuff. So definitely, there's no chance that I'm going to get that look in. And then like I sort of heard a few whispers, and at the time when we were seeing the deal, I was on holiday with my family, and I just spent the whole time just like my son was in a pram, and I was just going up and down, up and down, up and down, just on the phone trying to get it done because I was desperate. Yeah, to make it happen. And it wasn't a great holiday, I'm sure, for my wife because we spent a lot of time just walking up and down, and she was by herself.
A bit like what we're doing at the
pretty
moment.
Much now, but obviously the end of it we got it done, and it's been amazing being back home, being back around family and friends.
Would you change the whole moment, the whole experience that you went through just to get back to where you are now? Would you change it for anything?
No, nothing. I think it's made us who I am. It's made us as I said, I'm very sort of resilient. I don't really care what people think about sort of me and my performances so much. I know that I'm my biggest critic, so I always feel as if I evaluate myself pretty well. And at the end of the day, it only matters what the manager thinks. And been very lucky that every manager I've played for has the majority of players and giving us that confidence. So I've sort of had no reason to doubt that now. And as I said, I feel as I'm playing me. I'm still improving.
Developing,
yes. I still don't
leading.
think I've peaked. Trying. So yeah, I just want to keep improving.
But when you look now at players who look up to you and young players coming through, and you've been through that academy system and you know what it's like, albeit at Fulham, and being loaned out here, there and everywhere, not thinking you're ever going to be where you want to be, what would you say?
Yeah, I think it's like you've just got to take chances. I think I've been...
Stand up to managers?
Yeah, stand up. I think you've got to make the most of it. I just felt as if I've always just tried to not have any regrets. So if my career ends tomorrow, I can honestly say that every single day I've given everything to the game. And yeah, I just feel as if I've left it all out there, and if that's not enough, I can live with that. So I'm happy with that.
With still plenty more to give, because it's not going to end today.
No, I hope not. I hope not.